There is a scene in the movie Practical Magic in which 4 witches, 2 aunts and their nieces, down margaritas at midnight and drunkenly sing and dance around their kitchen. The scene is nonsensical, chaotic, and completely and utterly charming, making the viewers smile from the chemistry between the actresses and feel good from the vibes of the scene, even as they shake their head at the complete lack of context. The scene is a wonderful microcosm of the entire film, a glimpse into why it's remained so popular all these years, despite its lack of narrative cohesion and its somewhat dated tropes. Practical Magic is a 1998 film starring Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman and based off the novel of the same name, which was written by Alice Hoffman and published in 1995. The novel and the movie focus on Sally and Gillian Owens, magical witch sisters who lose their parents young and are brought up by their eccentric witch aunts, all while dealing with a family curse which allegedly kills any man an Owens woman loves.
You know the only curse in this family? She's sitting right down there at the end of the table.
The movie condenses the novel's events but keeps the overall storyline fairly intact, adding a more whimsical element to the characters in the narrative, but not delving as much into the complex relationships which are portrayed in the book. As a result, the film, while fun, doesn't always make the most sense and leaves a lot to the viewer to make up for themselves. At the same time, the film is filled with charm, vivacity, and effervescence, brimming with magical appeal, which makes it a feel-good Halloween staple, and has helped it retain such public love that a sequel was recently announced, with both Bullock and Kidman apparently set to reprise their roles. It's the chemistry and charm of the 2 leads which lends a huge amount of appeal to the uneven story. Both Bullock and Kidman were making a name for themselves in Hollywood at the time, with Bullock still riding the success of Speed, but not quite yet the movie star she would become, and Kidman, while holding A-list celebrity status due to her high-profile marriage to Tom Cruise at the time, yet to fully make her mark in Hollywood, with films like Moulin Rouge and The Hours still several years away. This seemingly feel-good family film seemed a good way for both actresses to gain more exposure. Unfortunately, the film itself received fairly negative reviews upon release, but even the harshest critics praised the chemistry between the 2 leads, and their on-screen bond as sisters is the heartbeat of the film and one of its biggest appeals. We first meet the characters as young girls when tragedy disrupts their childhood, their family curse killing their father while their mother dies of a broken heart. We instantly feel for these young children who have been suddenly orphaned, and our sympathy only grows as we see the ridicule and scorn they endure due to their rumoured magical abilities.
You witch! 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 You're a witch! 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 You're a witch! 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 You're a witch!
We see how bonded together and protective over one another Sally and Gillian are, and the movie also adds in a deeper and more emotional relationship with the aunts than was in the novel. It's through this family that the warmth of the film reaches its viewers, as we see the aunts take in the girls without question and do their best to give them a happy, albeit odd, childhood.
Hey, my little witch. Let's go inside and do some spells.
The girls are introduced to the darker side of both magic and love, 2 prominent themes in the movie, early on, as they witness their aunts perform a particularly malicious spell in order to help a woman trap the married man she's in love with. While Sally is horrified by the act, Gillian is entranced, and thus we get the foundation for the 2 girls' distinct personalities and subsequent love stories over the movie.
Hope I never fall in love. I 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 can't wait to fall in love.
This is, unfortunately, also the foundation for the problematic tropes and narrative choices that surround the characters, in particular, Gillian. Sally and Gillian do, unfortunately, fall into a very light version of the Madonna whore trope. While young Sally casts a spell to ensure she won't ever fall in love and grows up to guard her heart fiercely, young Gillian grows up into a free-loving young woman who is harshly shamed by her sister and her aunts for her romantic pursuits.
She's in Orlando.
Oh, I guess that Roto-Rooter man is history.
Well, according to that, he is.
This is insane. She keeps going through all these guys.
Hopefully someday she'll find a guy who goes through her.
Sally is the scared and introverted sister, while Gillian is the promiscuous and outgoing one. And, predictably, Sally is rewarded for her demureness and her aversion to letting herself go, while Gillian is harshly punished for her open heart. After Gillian runs away from home, the two young women have separate romantic storylines, which end up colliding over the movie's run. Sally, who stays at home with her aunts, lives a lonely life until her aunts cast a love spell over her and a village local to help Sally find some happiness. Unfortunately, Sally falls in love with the man for real, and the Owens curse ends up violently taking his life, leaving Sally and her two young daughters to move back into her aunt's house, where Sally bans magic and isolates herself from her family. The movie rightly treats Sally's storyline sympathetically, and she eventually finds true love with her apparent best match and ends the movie happily and in love, having moved past her fear of intimacy and of losing those she cares about. It's a sweet story, albeit quite rushed, and Sandra Bullock is naturally charming as the shy yet powerful sister. Gillian, on the other hand, is implied to have a string of boyfriends, a fact which her entire family looks down on. And when she does genuinely fall in love with the wrong guy, he ends up getting violent with her, and she and Sally end up killing him in self-defense, sending both sisters' lives into a tailspin. What's crazy about this storyline is that Gillian is blamed for this predicament, and the narrative implies that because Gillian is promiscuous and free-spirited, that she somehow brought her fate on herself, and by extension, her sister. It feels dated and victim-blamey, and can make parts of the film feel somewhat uncomfortable. With that being said, similarly to Bullock, Nicole Kidman brings a natural charm and vivacity to Gillian, elevating her past her bad girl status and making her feel like a full character. While the themes of love and fate and believing in both do get muddled, given that the film basically says that being open to love will punish you while being closed off will eventually reward you, the theme of family and the bond between the sisters is wonderfully clear, and Bullock and Kidman share genuine chemistry as the girls, making all their scenes feel warm and genuine, and the events of the movie repeatedly show us how devoted to one another the two women are. When Sally almost loses herself in her depression after her first husband's death, it is Gillian who pulls her out of it, pointing out how Sally needs to be there for her own daughters and reminding Sally how heartbroken she and Gillian were when their own mother allowed herself to die of a broken heart. And, despite the somewhat victim-blaming narrative surrounding Gillian's predicament, when she calls Sally for help within the story, Sally doesn't hesitate to fly across the country to save Gillian at a moment's notice. We see how the two have protected one another since they were young, and it's ultimately their love which helps to save Gillian from the vengeful spirit of her ex and breaks the Owens curse. At least that's what's implied. The movie itself doesn't actually make this all that clear. The magic of the movie is one of its smaller downfalls, as the magical abilities and powers that the Owens women possess are neither properly explained or explored. The family's magical abilities range from being able to brew potions that drive people away to low-grade telekinesis, and while we do glimpse what appears to be a grimoire, there does not seem to be a firm source or basis for their powers. At times, we see that magic demands a sacrifice and comes with caution, such as the spell the aunts cast early in the movie, which requires the subject to kill a dove.
Be careful what you wish for.
Other times, their magic appears to have no cost and can be used liberally, as we see when Gillian magically makes it so that Sally gets voted in for an important position with the PTA. We see one of Sally's daughters seemingly accidentally cast a spell out of anger, yet it is also implied in the film that witchcraft must be studied.
And this is what comes from dabbling. I mean, you can't practice witchcraft while you look down your nose at it.
And at times, we are not even informed how or why certain spells have worked, such as when Gillian and Sally somehow resurrect Gillian's abusive lover before they fully complete the resurrection ritual. With all this being said, this movie's charms obviously outweigh its flaws. As said before, the chemistry between all the actors is fantastic, creating 3 generations of witch sisters with strong bonds and deep family roots. And the somewhat cliched story of a town accepting a family of oddballs works surprisingly well, especially in the climactic scene where all the women band together to help drive out the evil spirit possessing Gillian. There are fun nods and small pieces of continuity which pop up throughout the film, such as this joke.
You should come around here on Halloween. You'd really see something then.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we all jump off the roof and fly.
Which is first brought up derisively as an illustration of how the town ostracizes them, but ends up being the final scene of the movie after the sisters fully embrace their magic and are accepted by their neighbours. The soundtrack and score are also superb, with the main theme for the movie being a beautiful and light tune, which instantly makes it feel like autumn, and the main song Crystal being performed by the appropriately ethereal Stevie Nicks. The songs sprinkled throughout the movie help to build its amazing atmosphere, with numbers like Joni Mitchell's A Case of You and the aforementioned Crystal adding to the witchy and magical vibes. Another huge aspect which adds to said magic are the aesthetics of the film, which are visually a witchy feast. From the custom-built Owens house with its spiraling staircase, herb gardens and stunning ocean views, to the on-set location of Coopeville, Washington, which provided the charming small-town feel, this film is bewitching to watch. And that's not even mentioning the drop-dead gorgeous actresses which are in it. Ultimately, everything in this movie, even its flaws, somehow end up working together, resulting in a chaotically charming story, which at its core is about sisterhood, family, and female power, and continues to be enjoyed and referenced more than 25 years after its first release. Hopefully, the sequel can recapture the charm and magic of the original while smoothing out the more disorganized aspects. And even if it doesn't, I suspect that the chaotic charm of practical magic will continue to draw in and retain viewers for many years to come.